Welcome back to Armor in Pink. Thank you for joining me on this journey. In this channel, I share my personal experiences with breast cancer, the challenges, the victories, the lessons, and the hope that carries me forward each day. Whether you're a survivor, you're a patient, caregiver, or simply here to support, I'm glad you're here, and let's continue this journey one step at a time. Getting diagnosed was only the beginning of this journey. What came next would completely change my body, my mind, and my life. In the coming episodes, I would take each one of you to the day I had to make the hardest decisions of my life during this cancer journey. Moving forward from the biopsy days came the day of PET scan. Now, PET scan gave us the answers, but it also raised a new question: what my treatment would look like. Yes, what the treatment would look like depends upon your PET scan. And another report called IHC report. Now, what is this IHC report? It is a detailed form of biopsy. Your same sample of biopsy is further given for testing, and in detail they test in the lab. This test is called IHC test, which stands for immunohistochemistry test. It is performed on the same tissue sample that you have given for the biopsy, which that specimen, when tested initially, tells that your tumor is carcinogenic. Basically, this test IHC tells us the specific proteins in that cancer cells. It helps the doctor to understand the tumor's characteristics and guide the treatment decisions based on that. So, key markers that are typically checked in the breast cancer tumor are the following. The first is the estrogen receptors, then your progesterone receptors, HER2, that is your human epidermal growth factor response, and fourth is your Ki factor, Ki67. Now we will go in detail with each key markers, what they mean and what is being tested in these key markers. Now, the estrogen receptors indicates whether the cells may respond to the hormone in your body called as estrogen. It is reported in the test as positive or negative, often with the percentage of cells staining the positive. Now, progesterone. Next comes your progesterone or the PR receptors, as it indicates whether the cell responds to the hormone called the progesterone. Again, this is also marked as a positive or a negative depending upon the cell percentage. Third is a human epidermal growth receptor or the HER2 receptor. This measures the cancer has excess of HER2 protein. Now, when the IHC report comes, it indicates 0 or +1 negative, 2 plus or 3 plus positive. Next comes your, as I earlier said, Ki67. It is a marker that shows us how quickly your cells divide or they are spreading. It is also reported as a percentage. Higher the percentage generally indicates more active growing cells. That means faster or rapidly it is growing in your body. Now, for example, this is not an exact report, neither it's my report, but just to give a basic idea to everyone who what the report looks like is, for example, if your report would say ER 90% positive, PR 70% positive, HER2 +1 negative, KI 67 is your 15%. It would show figures like this. Now, why this IHC report is important along with the PET scan, not before, but I would say with the PET scan, because it helps to classify the breast cancer into its subtypes and assist the oncologist team in planning your treatment. This is one part of the overall evaluation alongside many other findings, imaging and staging factors, clinical factors that your doctors would suggest. For me, after the biopsy, IHC's report was suggested along with on the initial basis along with the PET scan. And for PET scan, I had to go for another blood work test called as keratin testing. I had to get it done in my body. After that only you can get your PET scan done. Now, I walked in to all the appointments as the person I was. I had always been. But when I walked out, I walked out as knowing that my life would never be same. After my biopsy, as I said, I kept my blood work ready and shortlisted my diagnostic center for the PET scan, because again I was staying away from my home, so it was just me, my husband and my toddler. So we had narrowed down, or rather I should say, after my initial biopsy report came, my husband had immediately, without wasting the time, knowing the gravity of the situation, he came into action, and before I was even told about the reports and everything, he had narrowed down all the where the test has to be done, took the appointment, where the blood sample has to be given for the keratin. Everything was smoothly narrowed down by my husband. The biopsy report that came after 3-4 days in my earlier blog, which I stated, just told that it is a carcinogenic tumor. Where all it has spread, what stage and grade it is, we were yet to find out. As I told you, that PET scan, imaging and the IHC report would help us determine the further steps. IHC report generally takes 7 to 10 days. The report is generated it comes after 7 to 10 days from your testing, when the sample is sent for testing. Now I got my biopsy report stating that it's carcinogenic tumor, on Saturday. It was a Saturday. Came Sunday, and then on Monday I had my PET scan scheduled. So for that Monday PET scan scheduled, we gave my blood test for the keratin and other CBC or complete blood work samples on Saturday evening after I came back from my office. The same evening I gave my blood test. The report came on Sunday, and we immediately we scheduled our scans for Monday. And I had already as I mentioned so many times in my vlog, that my work family was very much supportive. So I had informed them on Saturday itself that my reports are not good. I have been diagnosed with cancer and I have to go for a further testing on Monday. So please allow me a leave to figure out things. And from my bottom of my heart now also, I am really in gratitude of my principal, my security correspondent of this school, Sangamitra, Miss Arundhati, who came in support of me, who came forward, and knowing the fact that it's just me and my husband and my toddler here, came in support that you leave your child with us and go for the scans. We are there for you. So that immense support and love and care even from your work family makes things little easier and the journey little smoother when you know all your corners are covered. So Monday we went for our scans, and after getting the news, getting the test done, little funny anecdote is that I was not that time worried about being diagnosed with cancer. The thing that was running in my mind was, how will I be able to get inside the PET scan machine since I am claustrophobic? So yes, I am I have borderline claustrophobia, which makes going into the machines little difficult for me. So the center the diagnostic center we shortlisted, we went there, I told them my problem, that I have claustrophobia, so it is a little difficult for me to be in the machine for so long. So if they could assist or they could help me in some way or the other. So they assured me that they will do it the quickest time possible, maybe 10 minutes. That's the minimum they said they could. And also allowed my husband to be inside the scan room with obviously the anti-radio jackets that was provided by them, so that he is protected from all the radioactive rays and all. That made me a little more comfortable, more relaxed to take on the journey. So during the PET scan, they insert an IV cannula and inject a radioactive medicine in your body. So basically that medicine has glucose, wherein the cancer cells they respond to that glucose or the radioactive medicine that is inserted in the body, and the body lights up in the scan. That helps to tell the oncologist or the radiologist team to know where all it has spread. Where all it glows, that means it is spread in all those areas. Now after giving me the cannula, before putting the cannula, I was in a very panicky state, and I was like, I don't want to go for the scan. I will not be able to breathe. I was getting scared. I started crying. So my husband motivating me, and then the operators, they told me that please decide whether you're going or not, because once the medicine is given, then you can't back out. So taking God's name, praying, and I said I will go for it, and I got myself injected in the cannula and took the medicine. I was assisted to a room where I had to drink like bottles of water so that the radioactive medicine is in my system. Once that was done, I was made to sit without, and you're not supposed to talk when that medicine is within you and you're drinking water. No talking, no communication with anybody. And then they make you wait for good 30 to 40 minutes, and then when your turn comes, they call you, and then they make you lie down in the machine, which I'll put it here. You can go through the machine. Your arms are up high, and the medicine again is attached to another IV drip, wherein during the scan, slowly they'll take you inside, and then they'll inject with another contrast. Generally, that contrast is not supposed to pain, but that day I don't know what happened. I jerked, I was scared, my body was shivering. I don't remember nicely what triggered it, but when they inserted and they tell you, the operators from the glass door that they are operating the machine, they tell you that now we are inserting the contrast in your IV, so don't move, and they give you the instructions pretty clear. So I don't know, when they gave me that instruction, what happened, what triggered in my body, that I had a movement, or I don't know whether I did also or not. But the next thing I know is that as soon as they inserted in the IV the contrast again, I had a terrible pain. My whole shoulder was hurting, and my hands were also hurting, as if somebody had taken a hammer and hit on the joint of my shoulder. I thought maybe it's for so long it's been in this position, so maybe it's causing a pain, it's hurting because of that. So but as soon as the scans were over, they came out, and I said that it was hurting, so they said it's probably the medicine that has worked or whatever. And when I saw, I held my hand like this, I saw my hand was swollen. My hand where the IV was, it was swollen. I immediately called the nurse who had inserted, and I told her that, ma'am, I think the IV is causing a back pressure. So then I was informed that it was not the IV that is causing a back pressure, because they check, and they were right. So they check, they inject, and they check the backflow, so they were right. So when they were inserting the contrast in my IV during the scanning, as I have claustrophobia and getting nervous with so many things, everything was so new to me, my body might have moved. So they said while they were inserting, and I did move, and that IV needle that was inserted in my vein, during that insertion, the needle poked me somewhere in my veins, moved inside my body, and that's where this swelling came. So they applied a thrombofoam, and they said don't move your arm. They took out the IV line that was inserted, and I went home, and I was advised So generally with the adults around you, you don't need any isolation. But I had a toddler who was 3.5 that time. I was advised for a 24-hour isolation from him.